Hi everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful evening, have a beautiful morning and a beautiful afternoon. Tonight I'm reading to you chapter 13 from Breathing Out Brave. This chapter is extending on the principles from chapter 7. So here we're delving more into honesty, our unconscious and relationships. So it's a bit of a fun chapter, well, for me anyway. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 13, Blindspotting Part 2. I don't know how to say this, but I really hate how you style your hair. It could be so much nicer. What? I love my hair. I like it. It's cool. I thought you liked it too. Well, now that we're being honest, those skirts you wear are not flattering, not in the slightest. I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you just said that. That's hurtful and plain mean. Yes, that's hurtful and plain mean. Depending on the stage in your relationship, how honest, how truthful, how playful, how open, how far the relationship has developed and progressed, the above conversation could be light-hearted, serious, or devastating. It's easy to say, be honest in relationships. The actual doing of honesty is a whole nother ballgame. You and I both know this. We have been taught that honesty comes with a price, that it has consequences. We don't tell our parents how we really feel about doing a certain activity or undertaking a field of study. We don't want to disappoint them. We don't tell our spouse that their behaviour is hurtful. We don't want more of the behaviour or negative reaction of some sort, which we believe will inevitably occur. We don't tell our children we can't afford the particular activity. We don't want to disappoint them. We don't tell our friends that their behaviour is unacceptable when they get drunk. We're afraid of their reaction, lack of belief, or ability to change. We don't consider any of this lying or not telling the truth. We simply consider it a part of life or natural functioning. We don't want to create extra stress for people or ourselves in disclosing our truth or perception of reality. But what if there is a way to be honest and appreciate and respect ourselves and others? There is. And all it takes is a bit of self-awareness, self-honouring and compassion. Sounds simple? It is. But it's also difficult. The good news is it becomes easier with time. The more you reflect, feel and understand yourself and your emotional reactions, the easier it is to name and see in others. Example, starting with honesty. Let's take the example above. You want to tell your partner about their hair and how awful it makes them look. Ask yourself the following questions. Why is their hair so important to me? A likely underlying response could be that you feel the way they present reflects on you, and there could be some embarrassment or shame attached to that. If I was told by my partner that my hair is unacceptable, what would I feel? Where do my feelings of shame in someone else's presentation come from? For example, society, family, how my mother dressed and spoke to me when I was growing up, or there may be a specific incident from your childhood. Spend some time with this. Taking time to reflect will hopefully give you insights into your behaviour, causations and emotional needs about the particular issue. Often understanding this is enough. For example, from your need to change your partner's hair, you may discover that the feelings of shame come from an incident in your childhood when your mother said your dress was too colourful, too short or inappropriate. Your mother saw you as a representation of her, and you feel that your partner is a representation of you, so how they look deeply affects you. There are a couple of ways you can go from here, and what you decide may change over time in each situation. There will be other potential options that you can come up with too. Option 1. Tell your partner about your discoveries and how it relates to your feelings about particular issues. This is likely to open up more heartfelt communication and empathy between you. Option 2. Do nothing. Realize that this issue is more about you than it is about them. Then go deeper with yourself. Do the fear exercise below. For example, what's your greatest fear about your partner and not looking good? Option 3. Recognize all the above and then really feel into your heart. Is it still important to me? If it isn't, great. If it is, then perhaps you haven't gone deep enough, or it's a surface problem of a deeper issue in your relationship. The hair could be, for example, a representation of your partner doing what they want to do at any time without thinking through the consequences or impacts on you. Feel into the hair issue. Tune into your heart. What does their hair represent to you? As a result of this exercise, you may want to initiate a deeper conversation about how your partner's behaviour genuinely affects you, the learnings you got from the above reflection exercises, and how you would like to be heard, listened to, felt by your partner in the future. Example, careers and honesty. Another example could be not wanting to tell our parents that we feel more passionate about kite surfing than anything else, and we don't want to go and study accounting. We've been told our whole lives that our parents worked hard for us, providing a home and education so that we can make a success of ourselves. They have certain ideas and expectations about what they see as a success, which will be liberally tossed around in conversation since we're 4 years old. You know it's not an option to kite surf your life away, but the persistent feeling makes you think about ways you could secretly go kite surf and pretend to be studying at university at the same time. Then you get logical. Of course your parents would find out some way or another. The way you see it is that you have two options. Number one, deny your true passions, who you are, and go study accounting. Tell your parents probably end up studying accounting anyway because there's no way they'd agree to it. There are a few more options. Number three, research professional kite surfers, message them and find out how they make a living. Find out more about their lifestyle. Is it a lifestyle that you actually want? If so, you'd be better prepared to discuss this with your parents or caregivers. Number four, do a process on your fear. It could look something like the below. Exercise, honesty and fear process. Sit quietly, breathe and feel into your body. Take 3 long breaths into your belly and exhale. Pause between breaths. Do a short meditation if you feel the need to. Ask yourself, what am I most afraid of in going my own way? Answer, I'm afraid of losing my parents' respect. Question, what's so bad about you losing your parents' respect? A, they might reject me from the family. Question, that would feel lonely, isolating. Would you feel lonely and isolated doing accounting too? Answer, yes, likely. Accountancy is very boring and everyone is so serious. Question, so would you like your whole career to be boring and serious, which will affect the quality of your life? Or would you risk losing your family's love and respect? Is it likely they'll always be disappointed in you? Answer, yes. Question, what's the worst thing about them saying, about them always being disappointed in you? Answer, they may reject me and I'll have no family and end up dying alone. Question, what's the worst thing about dying alone? Answer, I'm not enough. I'm not seen, I'm not heard or respected or loved for who I am. Question, are there ways you can feel like you're respected and loved for who you are? Answer, maybe. Maybe through respecting my own preferences, desires, needs and wants. Maybe through being respectful to me and loving my uniqueness. My family and others may see this change and I might just get the respect back. Maybe. This above process demonstrates the dynamics of any decision making that can have a big emotional impact on us. The levels of truth for us are usually much deeper than what we unpack in everyday conversation. It is about becoming more deeply aware of ourselves and our true feelings and emotions, our deepest level of truth. When we understand these levels, everything changes. Different scenarios and people will bring up various emotions and truths. There is no magic wand to wave for every truth of yours to rise to the surface. It is a process that unfolds over time. This means regular and continual self-reflection. The good news is that once you get practiced at listening to your fear, anger and sadness, it becomes quicker and easier. You can even identify them within conversations. There is substantial mental and physical relief in this. Levels of honesty. Even from a peripheral glance, most people recognize that humans operate on levels of honesty in relationships. For example, what I tell and how much of my truth I tell to my parents may be very different in levels of detail, or how I frame the story and share with friends. The degrees of openness will be different in each relationship and contingent on a whole range of factors and experiences with each person. Some information may not be relevant for particular people, and they may not want to know certain bits of the story. You know this, so you leave it out. Is this honest? Or is it being aware of what a person wants to hear? Many parents, for example, would not want to hear about your sex stories, so it's reasonable to leave that out. It's not hiding anything, it's being appropriate, respectful. Example, telling people what they want to hear. Telling a person what you think they want to hear is a whole different ballgame. This is specifically grafting a story and leaving things out that may cause a person to judge you or see you in a negative light. Usually the information you leave out has a perceived negative consequence for you. For example, you've gone to watch a movie that you plan to see with your partner at the weekend. To avoid talking about it, you leave out the usual "how was your day and what did you do?" out of your conversation. You know that they would be disappointed to know you had already seen it, so you leave it out. How about if you said something like this instead? Look, I know you may be disappointed with what I'm about to tell you, and I want to let you know why I did it, so hopefully you may understand. I went and watched the movie we agreed we would see together. I did this because I was having a really tough day and I needed some fresh escapism. But I would love to see it again with you as well, as we agreed, and I promise not to ruin it for you beforehand. It's about how you consider the other person in your decision making and explaining to them in a way that is kind to you and kind to the other. Be brave and take the initiative and listen to any emotional responses openly. Always invite in any emotional responses. It helps the relationship to go to a deeper level. It also creates a safe space for both of you to express any issues that may arise. Talk it out loud. I recently watched a TED talk by a doctor physician who went through the journey of her physician husband dying of lung cancer. She said one of the most liberating things they decided together after his diagnosis was to talk it out loud. Talk out loud the things on their mind, things they ordinarily would not have spoken about, such as painful emotions, processing grief while he was still alive, and not hiding from the pain. You don't have to be dying to do this, but you have to be brave with yourself and those around you. If you already have a level of trust in your relationship, then this step can strengthen that trust. If there isn't a level of trust, have a discussion about not running away or retreating. Instead, sitting with each other's emotions and thoughts and doing your best not to attack, disappear, or freeze, and rather be cautious about the other person's feelings with an understanding of the power and depth it can create in your relationship. The keys to talking it out loud are: breathe. Be curious about what the other person is thinking. Hand in hand with this is not taking it personally, knowing that the other person's experiences that you are investigating, and that it's not about you for now. Seek to understand. Ask questions. Breathe. Scale of honesty. Honesty is a scale. Intentionally choosing which point on the scale you want to be at in any particular interaction is what's important. Being clear with yourself is essential. When you feel comfortable, you can be open about your honesty level with others. As discussed above, leaving out some details in some interactions can be appropriate. And if you want to up your level of honesty, even in these interactions, you could say, I'm leaving out these some details that I don't think you may want to hear, or is not appropriate at this time, which can lead to more questions depending on the levels of authenticity currently in your relationship. It's okay to be working on your levels of honesty. I still feel like my scale of honesty is a work in progress. And this is because I'm continuously discovering what my unconscious needs are in interactions with others. Example, continuing to reveal our levels of truth. I made a new town in the town I was previously living in. We clicked almost instantly because of her dry sense of humour alongside the fun and ease with being around her. She asked me to look after dogs when she was going away in a month's time. I loved her dogs, and the biggest issue was that I'd be sharing a house with meat eaters who cook a lot of meat. Being a strict vegetarian of 22 years, meat smells make me seriously physically sick. However, I agreed immediately. A week or so passed and I was worried about living in the house with 2 big meat eaters. I didn't say anything. When I was over at her house at another time, I was describing how being around cooking meat made me feel physically ill. She immediately said, "Well, how is that going to be going living here when I'm away?" I don't know, I'm a bit worried about that actually. The next day she messaged me and asked me to let her know either way whether I could sit the dogs so she could potentially organise someone else to look after the dogs. I decided I needed to be really honest, so I said I agreed to do the sit initially because I wanted to be closer to her and deepen our friendship. And that if I had the house meat free, but the meat smells really are exceptionally uncomfortable for me, and that I didn't want to sit in that environment. It was a relief for me to, and more importantly to realise why I really agreed to do the sit. I wanted her, A, to like me, B, to be happy with me and that I sat the dogs for her, C, to feel a stronger friendship bond as a result. This was my unconscious reasoning and my deeper levels of honesty. It was a relief to be this honest with a new friend and tell her my unconscious motivations for my behaviour. She ended up getting another sitter within a few days, and surprisingly to the child in me, of me or act any differently towards me because I said it. This is a good example of working on my scale of honesty, discovering my emotional needs and expressing them in a kind way for me and others. Honesty is a process. It's understanding why you do what you do and then expressing that in a compassionate way to others. It doesn't have to be harsh. Honesty can be as easy as drinking a cup of tea with a friend. It becomes simpler over time when you become familiar with your emotional needs, acknowledging and expressing them in a safe manner. Describing your behaviour, words and actions in terms of what you were seeking emotionally to achieve. Everyone is always seeking to fulfill some sort of emotional need in everything they do. Brave in a world where expressing your true self is regularly so utterly suppressed. Step towards being more bold, clear, kind and honest with yourself and others is, I believe, by far the bravest and most transformative thing you can do in your life. So that's the end of chapter 13. I hope you enjoyed it and it provided you with a little bit of food for thought. If you have any questions, please comment below. Really happy to answer them and dive deeper. Love talking about honesty, one of my subjects. So yes, and you can find all the previous chapters on my Facebook wall, so if you want to catch up. The next few chapters will diving in further into relationships, so for the next few nights, so it's going to be exactly the same time from now on, because I've just found that it seems to be work best for people around this time wherever you are in the world. So so you'll see every night, and night my time, afternoon or morning your time. So yes, so looking forward to continuing this journey with you, and part 3 in relation